Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Norm,
I'm Adam.
and it's just the two of us.
Crickets.
Just the two of us. You know, isn't that a Will Smith song?
What's that?
Isn't just the two of us?
Yeah, it is. It's an old 70s, 80s song. Just the two of us. I'm going to put my phone on stun.
We are recording.
Hold on just a second. Yes, but much later. Okay, sorry.
Shall we start from the beginning?
No,
Oh,
let's
well, all
continue
right.
on.
All right.
Is this real life?
Yes, it's real life. We are recording at the end of a day because, as we talked about last week, Adam, you have started production on a TV show.
A TV show which we still can't announce just yet, but we did a first location shoot today, and it went terribly. We got totally shut out by very rainy San Francisco weather, which turned this location we were going to use into a muddy paddock of. We had to rescue 2 production vehicles with a farm tractor today.
Holy smokes. I can't imagine how stressful that is for not only you, but also your showrunner. And because that,
we don't have a lot of margin here.
Yeah,
This is a tight budget show. So, look, we're finding our feet. The crew is amazing. Again, we'll announce it soon, and you'll hear about it all here really first. But it's fascinating jumping into this. It's really, really fun.
And a lot going on because since we all met together last, you had an event here. We talked about it was very clean in the cave last week. It's a little messier now.
A little bit.
And you've had people, I didn't get to make it. How'd that Sketchfest event go?
Well, so for the last several years, I've been throwing usually one of the opening night parties for Sketchfest. It's a lovely crowd. I love the Sketchfest crowd. The organizers, mainly my friend Janet Varney. I just have no idea how they manage all the different talent and people and shows that they put on every year for 2 weeks. If you can get out to see Sketchfest, you really should. Some of my favorite people in the world: Paul F. Tompkins, John Hodgman, Paul and Storm, Jonathan Colton, John Roderick. Who else is lurking about? It's all my favorite people converge on San Francisco, so it's really awesome.
Do you have time to do any other Sketchfest events?
I'm actually doing a couple this weekend. And making arrangements with various folks to get together, too.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I will live vicariously and follow it on your Twitter feed. Something I also saw on your Twitter feed, you had a first.
Oh, yes, I got a tattoo.
It was a first for you.
We haven't talked about this yet. Yes, I've got my first tattoo, and it's here on my left arm. It is a 6-inch ruler or 15-centimeter ruler. It is. I'm really, really, really happy with it.
All right, let's break this down.
Yeah.
Because you said on Twitter that this was an idea you'd wanted to do for a long time. A ruler.
Yeah.
When you think about, and first of all, why have you never gotten a tattoo?
But it's hard to get your first tattoo. I'm hearing this a lot from people who are tweeting to me about theirs. Like, it took them years to think up the first tattoo, and then once you get a tattoo, then you immediately want more. And I can attest, I'm already thinking about what the next one might encompass.
So it's the commitment of like what it means to have something, because we know people, work with Ryan with lots of tattoos.
Yeah.
But is it the commitment to the object? You don't know what that object is, or the mental hurdle of this is going to be with you for the rest of your life?
It's both of those things. And I think it's for me, it was thinking, I also had the added thing of I wanted utility out of it. And that's when I realized, oh my God, I should get a ruler. I would use it all the time. There's a chef who has, and I can't remember who it is. They have 2 dotted lines on their left palm, one for a teaspoon and one for a tablespoon of salt.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But how high?
Well, I think, there's a standard mound, right? It makes that angle of repose that particulate matter does, and it's meant to accommodate that. Unfortunately, over the years, areas that move a lot tend to wear away the tattoo. So it requires, I would wager they've had to have it touched up. Mm-hmm. So the pressure of like, what am I going to get? It's going to be permanent. I'm going to live with it for the rest of my life.
You have to kind of know yourself a little bit.
I would assume. I
mean,
guess.
plenty of people I assume get tattoos without and potentially regret it later. This kind of, is it self-defining?
What do you mean?
Like, do you think like this is the ruler is a thing that people get tattoos and say this is the thing that represents me?
Yeah, the utility, the fact that I have added a utility to the surface of my body, that represents me in a way that I feel very comfortable with, and I like that, and it pleases me greatly.
And the location also was well thought out, I assume. Like the way you measure.
It was always just the moment I thought of a ruler, it of course had to go on my left arm, because I'd be holding the thing in my right arm, and I'd go, "Oh, what is a soda can? A soda can is about 2 3/4 inches in diameter."
That's really funny. Wow. And so you have inches. You got centimeters.
Inches and centimeters, yeah.
And the design of this, did you do the design yourself?
No, the tattoo artist and I sat and made sketches for the first hour. I don't know if this is true of all tattoo artists, but there's definitely a little bit of island time to stepping into a tattoo parlor. It's not like you're going to go in and get your thing and get out. There's a whole interaction, and I like that. I want to collaborate. I don't necessarily just want to go in and say, make me this.
Right.
I enjoy that process of collaboration.
And people seek out certain tattoo artists for their art.
And Tessa's own Ryan Kaiser took me and was there, took good care of me during the day. It didn't hurt as much as I was afraid it would. It still hurts, but you forget about it almost immediately.
You're saying that you actually want to look at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As it's happening.
Well, it turns out it hurts less if you're looking at it. I found that while I was in the room, and that was confirmed. The tattoo artist and my son think too, who also got a tattoo at the same time, said, "Yeah, no, it's much better if you can see them, if you can see the needle going in."
Wow. All right. Because up to your wrist, that's a health.
You're thinking about it, aren't you?
No, I'm not thinking about it. No. I like the mental exercise.
Yeah. I mentioned it to my friend Dave, who was here at the shop this weekend, and he said he has a friend who's an architect who has little triangles placed on his arm that are specific distances away. Basically the same thing. I love the idea that it's useful. And I'm not sure that my next tattoo is going to be useful in the same way, but I still want it to be something I refer to. I still want it to be something
you have a reason, not purely aesthetic.
Exactly.
I mean, what else could there be?
There could be formulas. One thing I don't want to give away my ideas. It's like talking about the name of your children before you name them. No, I don't want anyone else's input on this.
But I'm sure you've received lots of messages, you said, on social media. People, I think I saw someone respond to you with a tattoo on their finger, with also a ruler for sewing.
Yeah, I've heard that on your non-dominant finger, little marks. I think that's brilliant. I think that's really cool. Again, on areas of high movement, I'm aware that the tattoos can wear away.
Yeah.
But I'm not above touching something up. And I appreciate the way people responded to the idea of that utility. I got a lot of emails from friends going, dude, people I haven't heard from in a while.
With something that has utility or something that's not as ephemeral as a logo or something, I think you have more confidence in that. My parents are very conservative. They would freak out if I got a tattoo. My twin brother actually has a tattoo that he's been hiding from them for, I think, I don't know, like 15 years.
Your parents don't listen to my mom listens to this podcast. Yeah. Well, no, your parents don't?
No, absolutely not. And it's
don't call Norm's parents.
I will out him. He has the Batman logo on his shoulder, but high enough that when he wears t-shirts, it covers. And it is the Christopher Nolan Bat logo, which, like, he loves Batman. That's great. Power to him. I'm curious, like, which logo? Like, if he did that, if we grew up in the the 70s, and you might have gotten the Tim Burton Batman logo.
No, that's
like,
the 80s.
Or I mean, if you grew up in the 70s, you would have it in the 80s potentially.
You'd have the Adam West Batman logo. And then if you had it in the 80s, you do Tim Burton. In the 90s, well, I mean, there must be some people who love all the Joel Schumacher Batman films.
Right. You could get the nipples tattooed on.
We talked about that already. I worked with the guy who sculpted the nipples. Jose.
Oh no, yeah. From Ironhead Studio.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea, like, I know it gets a lot of flack, but the idea, the direction he was given, an idea he came up with was like a callback to like Roman armor, the gladiator
understood.
armor, right? And that they sculpted the nipples in that. Yeah, so I completely get
I
it.
think Joel Schumacher just lost his mind a little bit.
And Jose redeemed himself because he got to sculpt the Batman suit for the Zack Snyder Batman. So, everything comes.
That's
full
very
circle.
cool. Okay, speaking of superhero movies,
I know. Let's just get to it.
I finally saw Spider-Verse this weekend.
I'm so sorry, Will. We're going to talk about Spider-Verse.
I'm sorry, Will. We can talk about it again when you're here because I want to hear your thoughts. Will saw it twice.
Yep.
I am really interested in going again. Holy shit, what a great movie.
I think,
First and foremost, just like what a terrific film with great characters. I was super moved by it.
So you went in probably, did you know about the hero, the protagonist?
I knew about Miles Morales.
Okay.
I knew the film centered on Miles. I knew, I mean, I've been aware that Miles was a Spider-Man thread on one of the comic book Spider-Men, Spider People, I guess.
Yep.
And I knew that it explored a lot of different animation styles. I steadfastly had not watched any of the trailers.
Wow. Okay. Most of America never watched the trailers because it did not do well. It has gained momentum since. But it's a fascinating. The reception to it is very fascinating because undeniably it's a fantastic film. I think we agree. It's maybe
phenomenal.
Easily the best Spider-Man film. I think. We can
even
debate
more than that. It's such a It's to say it's an animated movie actually doesn't do justice to the degree to which it explores animation as a medium and changes your understanding of what it can do.
And I think the fact that it was an animated film actually in the public perception hurt it.
I think you might be right.
I think that there's a lot of people, fans, like superhero fans, comic book fans, who when they think animation in theaters, they think either direct to DVD, because there was a whole phase where DC and Marvel put out animated features. We've seen animated Spider-Man on TV.
Yeah.
And people go to theaters because, for better or worse, they want to see a live action film most of the time. That's why Spider-Man Far From Home or Homecoming did so well. Right. And those are fine movies. But I think animation has a stigma, right? It's the same reason that very few animated films have been nominated for Best Picture, and there's still yet to be one that has surpassed that and been won Best Picture at the Oscars. This elevates the art form and is just a great movie.
It's a really great movie, and it deals in beautiful ways with intersectionality. Miles is a person of color, and it felt as beautiful as watching Hamilton in some ways to me, of seeing such a different way of approaching culture and doing a deep dive into some remarkable place.
Well, it's a modernizing of the story without being aggressive about it, because it is a real take. This is how someone like Miles in New York today would be like.
Yeah.
And I think that's been one of the strong points about Spider-Man. It's a character. It's a relatability. When Peter Parker, when Peter Parker was being written decades ago, it was because the kids reading it could relate to it.
Right.
And when they rebooted Spider-Man and they did it in the early thousands, it's comic books, it was still relatable. But this is now relatable to a whole new generation of kids.
My wife, I brought my wife. She was a little dubious and came away going, that was amazing. And Spider-Man's definitely my favorite of all the superheroes.
Yeah.
There's a thing in there which I really dug, because I had seen... I mean, you couldn't ignore Spider-Verse if you're looking at things like IO9 and Otaku and Gizmodo, etc. Was that shot of the city upside down and Spider-Man looking like he's heading up? So this is a classic thing that Zack Snyder gets a lot of crap for, is basing his movies around these dramatic moments that haven't been earned narratively and dramatically.
Right.
And I really agree with that. When I finally read an article that sort of explicated that in that beautiful, articulate way, I was like, that is it. That's it.
Well, I'll go deeper on that. And I was thinking about that earlier. And a lot of that is because, and maybe Zack Snyder, because like his films, 300, Watchmen, and to some extent, Batman v Superman, he use the graphic novels, use the comic books as his storyboards, right? And in comics, the spaces in between the panels are very important and happen in your imagination.
Right.
And he didn't fulfill those spaces in between the panels.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
And so you have these big moments, but that's all they are. And when you're reading a comic, it's not just the panels; it's the space in between as well, and the gutter.
I also always feel a little weird doing this, talking like this, because like Zack Snyder's directed a whole bunch of movies, and whether I like them or not, I don't know how hard it is to direct a whole bunch of movies. He has a very specific vision. He is working towards it, and I respect that, even if it leaves me cold in the DC universe. However, it was clear to me in the photos of In the Spider-Verse that this is a key moment in the film, and I'm here to say the point in the film that happens, it so delivers on the drama of the moment. I have chills running down my arms just talking about it, and it really is incredibly moving, even though the sentiment is about as straightforward a kind of superhero movie, I figured out the key, that has ever happened in any superhero movie, and yet the drama and the narrative excitement is all there and all delivered to you. It's such a satisfying movie.
The movie flows too because of the way the animation is interwoven with the music, and music's a huge part of this. And this is one of the reasons I think it's a thing that MCU doesn't get right. You know, we've seen the videos from Every Frame of Painting about how a lot when you think of modern live action superhero movies in the MCU, the scores aren't necessarily as memorable as they could be in some cases.
This one's very memorable.
And this is a case for Sony making this because Sony has the rights and the connections to its library of artists.
Well, and it's a lot more, obviously, I think it's a lot closer to Black Panther than it is to a standard MCU film. There's Chance the Rapper, his album cover of him in that red baseball cap is like front and center in Miles's room for 2 whole scenes.
That's a fake album, right? That's like a not released just for that
It's
universe
not a fake
Easter egg, isn't it?
No,
Oh, it's a real album?
That was Chance's album. Absolutely. So we were watching Behind This Family with a young kid, and as just as the credits started to roll, this like 5-year-old kid goes, "We didn't even spend any time with the roommate."
and the
I
loved
loved that.
yeah, and the roommate is who we I guess
He's
people
Tom
know.
Holland's roommate.
It's the same, based on the same character. Yeah. I think there is like a fake Chance the Rapper because they play with like alternate universe. Like
Yes.
the fake
Well, so what it
Coca-Cola.
is that Chance, forgive my lack of knowledge because I'm old, but Chance I think plays around with the number 3, and they change it to the number 4. So again, it's like it's a slightly different timeline.
Before we continue on with the conversation, I want to let you know that this week's episode of Still Untitled is made possible by Triplebyte. Applying to programming jobs sucks. You have to put the right keywords in your resume, and you spend hours and hours on phone screens and take-home projects. And that's assuming the company even responds to your application. Well, if you're a software engineer, Triplebyte can help. They work with over 400 top tech companies, from big names like Dropbox and Adobe to exciting startups. You do one brief online interview with them, and if you do well, you get to go straight to final interviews with the companies on their platform. It's like the common app for software engineers. Triplebyte does not look at your resume or where you went to school. All they care about is if you can code. There are so many people I know who I went to school with who maybe don't have the best resumes, or maybe even didn't finish their degrees, and they have tough times getting past recruiter screens. And a service like this can definitely help. Apply now at triplebyte.com/untitled. That's triplebyte, B-Y-T-E, byte as in 8 bits.com/untitled. And as a special offer for listeners of this show, if you take a job through Triplebyte, they'll offer you a $1,000 signing bonus. All right, back to the conversation.
Another thing about this movie that I found interesting, being in my 50s, is the talk show with Hassan Minhaj.
Yes. What
is that called?
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's Patriot Act.
Okay, so this is a highly produced, really lovely talk show. Hassan Minhaj is incredibly charismatic. He is covering complicated and deep news stories in a kind of a.
It's a comedy news show.
Yeah.
It's like a riff on like what Daily Show and John Oliver's been doing.
It is a riff on those, but I will tell you that Thing 2 showed that to me and my wife. And both my wife and I had the same response, which was, man, I can't take this at all. Now, it's not because I don't like Hassan Minhaj, because I do. It's that the pace of that show and the way it was delivered just made me feel old.
And totally true, because he is speaking to his peers, like the millennials, and the flow, the performative aspect of how he's talking about real news stuff. Like, that's why I'm going to defer, a generation like mine's going to maybe defer to John Oliver, that type, and then maybe there's a certain generation that will be more, the Jon Stewart type. But this is the evolution of that.
Well, it was far out for me to have that experience of like, wow, this is not a show I would watch, and not because it's not good. It's just because it's meant for a completely different generation than I am. Spider-Verse, while it is at a pace that feels somewhat relentless, still universalist in its thematic approach, so that I didn't feel like I was excluded. I didn't feel like it was for younger people than I. And actually, for a movie that moves along at a real breakneck clip, it takes a lot of time in many different scenes of small bits of quietude and peace that also really help build the action.
The ebbs and flows when Miles is talking to his dad through the wall, just those emotional moments. We're seeing a lot of the artists out of Sony Animation talk about their process and how they made this film. And it felt like a labor of love.
3 directors.
Yes, 3 directors. One of the co-writers was, I believe, Chris Miller, Phil Lord, the directors and writers of the Lego Movie, 21 Jump Street. They were producers on this, so you had their sensibility. I mean, watching this...
It's also laugh out loud funny.
It is.
A bunch of really, really funny jokes all the way through.
I mean, it makes me wish they stuck with Solo, because it feels like they have an abundance of creative energy.
Yeah.
And you see things like, I think Sony's trying to patent the animation style, but going in frame by frame, mixing 24 frame with 12 frame animation. So some of the characters would move in 2s and some would move in 1-to-1.
Why would they patent that? That doesn't need patenting.
It doesn't need patenting.
You just need to, Sony, don't patent it. You got to let other people try it out. Then you'll learn about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to yell, but I needed yelling.
But you can see these anime GIFs online of frame by frame analysis of what makes subtle things, subconscious effects when Spider-Man. It's why it doesn't look like any animated Spider-Man you've seen or any Spider-Man you've seen, because they went into each frame and added a little bit to it.
Now, speaking of frame-by-frame breakdowns, that made me think about the director of the last Mission Impossible film.
Yes, Chris McQuarrie.
Who just signed on to do 2 more back-to-back Mission Impossible movies.
Missions accepted was his tweet about it, which was
brilliant,
economical.
The world is a better place if Chris McQuarrie is making action movies.
Yeah.
And I thought you'd be excited by that.
I was I squeed out loud. He signed on for 2. They're going to film it back to back, Avengers style, Lord of the Rings style, and release 2021 and 2022, because 2020 is when Top Gun is coming out, which he's also working on.
Wow.
Contributing. He's not directing it, but
is Kelly McGillis in that?
I don't think so. I don't.
Is Val Kilmer? No, Val Kilmer's not in it.
I don't think so.
Iceman's. Yeah, he's on ice.
I think it's just Tom Cruise and who? No, there's no Goose. No,
oh, right, Goose is
dead. Come on,
such an idiot.
Come on. But the Top Gun sequel is coming out, and it's strange because this has got to be the end of Mission Impossible as a series. I know that the people are divided about it. There are fans and acolytes of Chris
Tom
McQuarrie.
Cruise will be 56 by the time
it's 60.
What?
By the time they finish, and by the time that's released, the last one, MI8, he will be 60 and look 50.
He'll be the best looking 60-year-old.
I mean, what are the stunts that can happen? Right?
What's that?
What are the stunts? What other stunts? Right? The joke online is it'll go to space before the Fast and the Furious films go to space.
I think Jason already went to space.
Yes, Jason X. Yes, but I'm very excited because he's a very competent writer, director, and I mean clearly he and Tom Cruise have a great working relationship. And I love Fallout.
Fallout is phenomenal. I want to watch it again. So what else did we say we were going to talk about? Or have we covered almost everything?
We've covered everything. I mean, Spider-Verse is it's just we're not going full spoiler cast on it right now. It's a wholehearted recommendation. It's one of those things. Definitely I don't think you need to see it in 3D.
No. It's funny. I watched it in 2D, and there are artifacts. They play around with the look of the red-green shift in 3D for background characters in the film.
Yeah, there's
To the degree that my wife actually thought that we were watching a 3D version without the glasses.
I think you're talking about color separations.
Yes.
And I think that's a post-processing effect they did to make it almost feel like it's out of the page. The CMYK,
Right.
like the individual pixels being split apart. But because I think some people have said that watching visually it's so loud
Yeah.
that it almost takes, 10, 15 minutes to acclimate yourself.
It
to-
definitely does.
And when once you've done it, it's fine. So I don't think you need the added 3D
No,
necessarily.
I didn't feel like I needed that. Who is Kingpin again?
The actor, I don't know.
Oh, no, I looked it up. It's a really great actor. Hold on. I know you're yelling at
I know who it is. It's Sabretooth.
Yes, it's Liev Schreiber.
Liev Schreiber. I'm glad we teamworked that.
Liev Schreiber, who is a real Vincent D'Onofrio analog as a terrific character actor who has also been a leading man in many, many projects, and is just a phenomenal craftsperson as an actor. He's the star of Ray Donovan. He was Sabretooth in the Wolverine film. But if you're an independent movie fan, Liev Schreiber's been in great things for 20 years. He's married to Naomi Watts.
Yes.
Or is he still?
I believe so. I believe so.
Okay, here's hoping.
And then the other Spider characters in the film. I mean, there's Nick Cage, John Malone,
Chris Pine?
Yeah, that's the one I want to talk about because one of the reasons I love this, like I love the Miles Morales comics, Ultimate Spider-Man, but I grew up in the '90s reading an adult Peter Parker.
Right.
I think when people think of an archetypal Peter Parker,
I
the
think of the
film- you think teenager,
Peter
exactly,
Parker,
because
yeah.
you grew up with the younger Peter Parker, and that's one of the reasons that story of the Peter Parker in high school has been so resonant. That's why the Sam Raimi films, they got it right with Tobey Maguire. Maybe a little less so with the Andrew Garfield ones, but also Tom Holland. The coming of age, the John Hughes aspect
Right.
of it all still resonates. But I grew up with a Peter Parker in the comics when Todd McFarlane was doing it, and J. Michael Straczynski was doing it, a little older. And that's a Peter Parker that I had never seen on screen either. A more mature, someone who's been doing it for 10, 15 years and is confident about it. So I was really happy to see that Peter Parker
A wonderful
portrayed.
voice characterization of the character. You're immediately drawn to him, and then the other universe Peter Parker, who's voiced by that guy from the New Girl.
Yes, and Jurassic World.
He's also wonderful. Are you starting to forget names, Papa,
10,
from all the
15%.
lack of sleep?
I got 85% of the names. 10, 15% have been gone. But all the different versions, I think there's a little bit of, it doesn't feel like your Spider-Man, whatever you grew up with, was stepped over or wiped.
In fact, the John Mulaney Spider-Pig, unbelievably great.
We're not in spoiler territory, so I don't want to talk about some of the jokes, but there are some jokes like that.
This will fit in your pocket.
I know. Yeah.
All right, I think that's as good a place to leave it as any.
Yes.
What's coming up on the site this week?
Oh gosh, we have some for community members. We have some new how-to videos. Kate and I we did some model making with Machination Studios models, and we did a great paint finish with it. And we're taking that model, and every time we get together, we're improving a little bit. So we created some water effect dioramas using some smooth-on silpoxy and clear cast and sculpting water, taking inspiration from a lot of what you guys out there have been showing us. I love seeing people who tweeted us with things they've done with smoke effects or water effects in their miniatures, and then we try to reverse engineer and experiment with those processes.
At some point, I want to do one of those the cotton balls lit from the inside to be the rocket taking off. I think you might have.
We just did one.
I think I saw it over there.
We just did one.
It's something I want to try.
Super fun. We'll tackle it when you got some time.
Awesome.
Last bit, you also announced your book is available for pre-order.
Yes, Every Tool's a Hammer. Right, we haven't talked about that on here either.
Yeah, it's a little bit. We teased it, but you can, and I'm sure we'll have more opportunity to dive deeper into it.
At the front, I want to say that the phrase, the joke, every tool is a hammer, is actually a joke that was spoken by my late friend, Mark Buck, an amazing model maker who Tori Beleche and Grant Imahara and I were lucky enough to work with for many years at ILM. They both worked, Tori worked with him on Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach. And Mark was killed by blindsided by a driver while commuting on his motorcycle. And, I've always loved the joke. Every tool is, he would say, remember, inside every tool is a hammer. And that became too long of a title to do. But that joke betrays this deep love of tools and misusing them in the field to get mission critical stuff done. And I've always held on to that. And this book, I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited about it. It comes out, you can pre-order it now on Amazon. It comes out on May 7th, and I'll be doing a book tour to support it when I'm done with production on this show.
Awesome. Ooh,
yeah, lots going on.
Lots going on. Will, I hope you listen to this podcast and regret not being here, but we'll do
a spoiler cast with you, Will, and I will watch Spider-Verse again before then.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you out there. We'll see you next
guys.
Thanks for listening this week. And once again, I want to let you know that this episode is made possible by Triplebyte. Applying to programming jobs sucks, from endless applications to countless hours of technical screens. With Triplebyte, there's a better way. All you do is one online interview, and then you get to go straight to the final interviews at hundreds of companies, from tech giants like Dropbox to exciting startups. It's like the common app for software engineers with no resume needed. Apply for your next job now at triplebyte.com/untitled. And if you take a job through Triplebyte, they'll offer you a $1,000 signing bonus. That's triplebyte, BYTE.com/untitled. We'll see you next week.